To another important area called philtrum. This you have to feel. Can you see a trench like area? So that is the philtrum. This is very important for us because this is our region. Okay. Just by seeing the philtrum, the depth of the philtrum and all these regions, you will know. Suppose if there is an image only till this region, just by looking into it, you will know whether it is a aged person, or you can even arrive at the gender. So many things can be seen from this particular morphology. So philtrum is also coming from the medial nasal process. And then we have the maxillary process, which is giving rise only to the upper lip. Watch this, upper lip. And then we have the palatine process of the maxillary process. Now listen, maxillary process. This is a two-dimensional image. So you are seeing only the front part. But maxillary process is there behind also. So that is where the palatine process happens. So maxillary process is like this. Clear? The front part will give rise to the upper lip. The back ones will give rise to the palate. Okay, it fuses and give rise to the palate. And then comes the maxillary process, also gives rise to the cheek region. Okay, and the most important thing is the globular process, which is in the front. That is also part of the maxillary process. I am repeating. Imagine maxillary process like this, not like this. I am just showing you for you to understand. The front part of the maxillary process will give rise to the upper lip and part of the palate also. The back side of the maxillary process will give rise to something called as secondary palate. The front part will give rise to primary palate. Is that okay? So three things which it happens: upper lip, primary palate, secondary palate. Additionally, cheeks. Is that clear? And then we have something called as mandibular process, the mandible and the lower lips. Is that clear? Just a table and just a picture. What have you completed? Development of face. Okay. If there is a question on development of face, draw a beautiful picture. All you need is 3 to 4 colors. That's all. You don't have to be very perfect. Just a random thing. The moment you examiner sees, we know that even if there is no time, little time available, whether you have understood or not, very easily you can find out. So don't worry about being very perfect. Just draw random diagrams, at least to represent what your brain knows. Okay, so that's very important. So shall we quickly revise? So development of face happens through the major processes which are listed here. So the first one is frontonasal process, maxillary process, mandibular process and the hyoid process. This is in general, this is a overview, and in specifically about area wise, frontonasal process gives rise to forehead, then root of the nose, very important. And then we have nose alone. If somebody asks, what will you say? Frontonasal process, medionasal process and latronasal process. Is that clear? So nose develops from 3 processes: frontonasal, medial and latronasal process. Is that clear? And the medial-nasal process gives rise to something else. Philtrum. Okay. And then maxillary process gives rise to upper lip, primary palate, secondary palate, cheeks. Mandibular process gives rise to lower lip and the mandible. Is that clear, all of you? Okay. Now specifically about the palate. So palate is very important. We already know what gives rise to the palate, right? What gives rise to the palate? Maxillary process. Palate is into 2 parts, primary, secondary. That you already know, but that much is not enough, because palate, you should also know that these 2 processes, the right and left, should come together and fuse at the midline. That is what is given in this particular picture. So can you see this image where there is a green area and the yellow area and there is a line in between? So what does that suggest? The green area is the globular process or the primary palate. I am using a word globular process or primary palate. and then there is a secondary palate fusing at the